Hey guys, tonight we're diving into an age where the only thing colder than your toes sticking out of your blanket is the morning air of a medieval village. Imagine you've just woken up to the sound of roosters doing their morning DJ set and the delightful aroma of not coffee, but something more like damp hay. You probably won't survive this, but hey, that's what makes it fun, right? Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up, not with the gentle buzz of 5 ignored alarms, but to the sharp crowing of a rooster who thinks he's a rock star. Trust me, he's the ultimate medieval hype man at 5 in the morning. As you blearily sit up, you realize your straw mattress has surprisingly not morphed into a memory foam overnight. Your trusty medieval pajamas, let's call them linen sacks, are less about comfort, more about not freezing your lovely toes off. Now, you're probably reaching for your phone, but alas, your medieval counterpart is staring at a wooden ceiling, contemplating the day without the distraction of unread notifications. Your morning routine doesn't include checking emails, but finding the nearest outhouse-like situation, a task less glamorous than a pumpkin spice latte run. Honestly, I'd take the latte with extra foam. Historians still argue whether morning rituals were more than just survival exercises. Personal hygiene was more of a get-through-it event rather than a self-care ritual. There weren't colorful bath bombs or invigorating body washes unless you count the chilly water from the village stream, where even just washing your face feels like a medieval ice bucket challenge. You won't believe this, but there were saints dedicated to what we'd call toothpaste. These pastimes thought chalk, salt, and the right prayers ensured fresh breath, though it's doubtful you'd get that minty fresh feeling. Slipping into your day clothes, or what you hoped wasn't worn by someone else the day before, you head to break your fast with a meal that probably would get a not Instagram-worthy comment. You're presented with thick, stale bread, which isn't prison food, but a medieval staple. Dunking it in ale or soup is your version of spreading avocado on toast. Just the right softness and a little hint of mystery flavor, because truthfully, you're not quite sure the origins of said ale or soup. Here's a little tidbit. Back then, the nutritional value wasn't debated, but rather whether anything at all was out of the ordinary. Bread was life. Bread was existence. Less, is this keto? And more, is this edible without tooth failure? In this bleary-eyed state, you long for espresso, and historians still debate whether the medieval equivalent, a potent mixture of herbs to brew morning drinks, could truly replace coffee's warm embrace. Valid concerns. Outside, you stumble upon a village in full swing, a land where choosing outfits was less express yourself and more please don't freeze or soil the linen. Fashions were quirky, let's say avant-garde for the sake of optimism. Your fashion guidance is far from today's perfectly curated Pinterest boards. Your village's collective closet looks like an explosion of earth tones and mystery stains. These were loud bangs of muted greens and browns, passed through generations with a loving wave of mothballs. Even in this snapshot of the past, there's a whisper of timeless human warmth. People chuckle about last night's dreams, swap mundane stories, No text exchanges or memes required, just the natural rhythm of community life. As the morning fog lifts, so does everybody's mood, albeit without caffeine's amicable help. Try as you might to scroll the horizon for an incoming adventure notification, your surroundings hold only possibilities limited by sunlight and stamina. The morning stretches ahead like this new canvas, unfolding simple wonders and barely conceivable struggles. But for now, simmer in the simple comforts of bread, conversation, and the mild panic of maybe misplacing your medieval wallet, or rather, the tiny pouch with a few coins and a lucky charm tucked inside, giving you chai tea latte energy, at least in spirit. Your freshly energized self, fueled by the medieval breakfast of champions, steps out into the bustling life of a village square. You might have left behind your dreams of binge-watching historical dramas, as your art form here is more of observing the live editions unfolding around you. If only they had streaming services where you could skip the boring parts and replay the juicy medieval gossip, right? At least roaming the village is a feast for all senses, a different kind of show entirely, with scents of baking bread mingling with notes you prefer to ignore. Imagine for a moment you're at the medieval equivalent of a county fair rather than an ordinary Wednesday, because frankly, every day held a sense of unpredictable adventure. Merchants shout deals as they peddle wares with the eagerness of a Black Friday doorbuster. You won't believe this, but pomegranates and peppercorn were more exotic than a limited edition sneaker drop. In this world, transactions aren't smooth PayPal taps, but rather a hearty exchange of goods and favors, seasoned with negotiation skills sharp enough to rival reality show contestants. Here, knowing how to haggle is more than a hobby. It's survival. Historians speculate that money mattered less than goods in some villages. Sure, coins were nice, but let's not overlook the power of bartering a dozen eggs for a sack of grain. Honestly, imagine trying to transfer that through Venmo. While meandering through the square, you sidestep mounds of hay and mud like they're modern-day sidewalk chalk art. Your inner humor whispers that some things never change. Dodging the unexpected is as universal as our love for naps. You spot a child giggling, chasing a dog who could honestly use a grooming app and a scheduling algorithm of its own. Meetings happen face-to-face, or, as you might say, IRL all day long. You find yourself at a market stall where the merchant weaves a tale more fascinating than any influencer's latest vlog. Listening to the tales of trade routes and far-off lands, you drift into imagining what TikTok might look like in this world. A flowing montage of fur-clad traders, flickering lanterns, and goods laid out like today's unboxing videos. Historians still argue whether these stories about spices and silks catalysts for oral history or just hyperbole to charge more. Mulling it over, you consider how facts and fantasy intertwined then, just as they do now, with every epic tweet or staged Instagram post. Even so, this narrative-spinning market feels a bit like scrolling through a feed, with each stall offering its own unique storyline. A quirky side note here. While you might delete and reinstall your social apps to regain focus, medieval distractions included the allure of a good puppet show or the mysterious art of juggling. Picture yourself amidst a circle of villagers, mesmerized by these simple spectacles, where laughter weaves through the crowd like a ripple of Wi-Fi reaching the corners of the room. The hours fold upon one another without agenda notifications or Pomodoro methods. As the sun dips lower, you find yourself smiling at strangers' anecdotes, community laughter, and a sense of connection that feels as rich and lasting as a cherished old photo album. In a place where time dances around uncertainty, the medieval market is a reminder of our innate need for stories, connections, and the straightforward joys of moments shared over bread. Even if the crust is tougher than your worn-out running shoes, you shuffle back homeward with warm sunlight on your face, thankful they hadn't invented blaring car horns yet, just the calming rustling of leaves that hums like an age-old lullaby for the living town. The day promises more than surviving. Here, each simple interaction adds another thread to the tapestry of existence, where everything feels as tangible and meaningful as holding your own breath against the world's rush. At home, rather than logging off, you simply let night's comfort envelope you, ready to dream of both the absurdity and beauty of existing in a world without Wi-Fi, but with uncountable stars blinking down. As the sun sets and the day's warmth fades, you're reminded that the medieval town doesn't have fairy lights to extend its hours. Glowing from open doorways, torchlight casts elongated dancing shadows under the eaves, turning your stroll home into a flickering dance of light and dark. The village, with its cozy, well-trodden paths, feels like a dimly lit page of an ancient story you're living out under a velvet sky. At home, you shed the day's dust, like yesterday's notifications, and prepare for dinner. Let's imagine this as an episode where everyone gathers around the table, ready to share stories as much as food. No apps involved, just crude wooden utensils and a la carte dishware, which, honest to goodness, are basically trenchers. These primitive plates serve double duty, absorbing soup spills and doubling as later taste cardboard after sitting out too long. Historians note this dining might include dishes of intriguing concoction, meats, grains, and surprisingly potent fermented drinks. You won't believe this, but some folks suspected cheese wheels held mystical aging secrets. Eating while keeping an eye out for mystery textures adds an edge to dining not found in scrolling through a digital food menu. Each bite is a lottery. You might win something delectable or unexpected, like seasoned organ meats. With the absence of chill background music, you're soothed instead by the crackling of the hearth and the harmonious clinking of wooden bowls. Conversations ascend like fragrant smoke, curling to the rafters, each person bringing their own stories of daily travails and triumphs. Honestly, these people's narrative skills could rival the most entertaining voice notes in your messages. As you savor strong cider in a world without editing software, the room fills with the fragrances of roasted vegetables and life stories, seasoned with laughter and disharmony alike, threaded together with humanity. The glow of the hearth soothes like a softly singing laptop fan, fading your tension like a mindful savasana. A quirky note: there are records of bread being used as literal bowls, called trenchers, to soak juices and gravies, later consumed with a gusto, usually saved for someone who's just completed an all-day medieval marathon. Only this time, participants are dodging carts, not people. Bread's multi-use here would shame the finest infomercial inventions. The evening narrative reveals a mystery. Historians still argue whether entertainment was vivid imagination or entirely speculative. The boundaries blur in a society where wonder fills every pause and evening ceremonies play out beyond candles' timid glow. Maybe a faint echo of past days now drifting across twilight fields. Stories tonight mingle with theories about peculiar celestial alignments, while visions swirled around enclaves where the enchantments of seasons dictated cycles of hope and harvest. The mystical ring spinning of folklore, like casting a dream catcher, was less about facts and more about tethering communities closer through cold winters. Settling down for the evening, you retreat back to your straw mattress abode, a room soft in its simplicity. Think of a space imbued with tranquility a minimalist might envy. Your heavy eyelids surrender to the day's rhythm, and you find solace in knowing tomorrow brings new, unplanned adventures in this world. Here, under roughly spun blankets, and the knowledge that chilly toes won't call the shots, you drift to sleep, wrapped in the rich tapestry of shared stories, dreams bidding quiet reflection. As you cocoon yourself into slumber, the smell of warm wood smoke lingers like a phantom fire, tracing lazy outlines in your nightly thoughts. Stars whisper above, ageless companions offering secrets to those daring enough to wish or listen. Their twinkle not a notification, but rather gentle whispers of all possibilities yet untapped. With only a candle hug's light and imagination to navigate dreams, you find your breath easy, like the night's lullaby, guiding you into comforting sleep, within the undiscovered narrative, gently cradled by time itself. In the morning, you wake up to the gentle stirrings of dawn light filtering through the small window of your medieval abode. The sun creeps over the horizon with the deliberateness of a loading screen. The day unfurls slowly, coaxing the world back to life. You rise, stretching out sleep's stiffness, and prepare to face a day that's more about tangible experiences than digital dings or the lure of endless scrolling. Today's mission, should you choose to accept it, involves grappling with threads that drape more than just your body. Medieval fashion is its own special brand of chaos. The linens and woolens wrapped around you are not simply for defying nature's chill, but also for expressing some level of personal style within the tight constraints of what everyone else is wearing. Honestly, it's more matching than setting Snapchat filters. You can't just summon 15-minute style hacks from a YouTube video. The apparel game here is one of endurance and negotiation, compromises between your skin and fabric that doesn't love you back. Each garment is like a woolen affair, woven with tales of practical protection against the world's elements, while simultaneously inspiring trends for things like the comfortable tunic or rather dubious hat choices. Surprisingly, elbow room isn't a thing unless you're adept with needle and thread, custom fitting being a luxury few afford. Historians still debate whether layers upon layers of cloth represented social status or sheer vanity in a world void of recorded Insta outfits. A good cloak, they whisper, communicates more than comforts, draping its wearer in whispered social signals, from wanderer's anonymity to aristocratic flair. You're tempted to imagine an Instagram account devoted entirely to this, showcasing innovations in the ever-challenging quest for medieval chic. Now, let's address boots, proof that life's not all bad here. You won't believe this, but medieval cobblers had foot comfort in mind, crafting wearable art that traveled rough roads with resilience. Your medieval soles bear stories of journeys and destinations felt with every step on packed earth or cobblestone paths, with not a whisper of podiatric atrocities. Stepping outside, you feel the evocative brush of wind against your cheeks. It's an elemental high five, an invigorating start that's both brisk and affirming. Wrapped warmly, you sense the day ahead offers a tapestry to weave yourself into. The path winds through markets and moors, past chatter and still life paintings of daily laborers, each an orb of independent stories. multiply reflected in life's substantial pageantry. Today's task might be routine, perhaps procuring wool or delivering bread, cataloging trends on medieval Pinterest, provided through the handiwork of artisans, simplifying life with sturdy baskets or artfully simple pottery. The community, woven with hands that once tugged looms and shaped clay, moves with intention and purpose. No leisurely tap-throughs or swipe-right simplifications. Each interaction layered with patience and presence, breathing life into simple exchange rites. Roaming the village, you notice the practical symphony of sounds, the clang of a blacksmith, merging rhythms and emissions warming the day, essential as any playlist. Everywhere around, humans make do and flourishes poetically. These creations are stone, wooden staves, flickering sparks, narratives built from what the earth generously grants. A quirky tidbit of the day. Medieval clothes were sometimes cleansed through urine-soaked stalls, which might leave a scent note unwelcome in today's dry cleaners. Hence, surprise over the historical lack of deodorant, counterbalanced by daily sweat and plausible plagues. Unexpected consequences in times reliant on herbal, not chemical protection. With clothes like yours, stories evolve with hardiness. Each fold echoes footsteps tracing centuries, while your spotted tunic, washed by time, forges soft links across generations. Every snip of lace or loose seam resembles whispers, threads binding a continuum of memories. As evening draws close, you retire, satisfied, wrapped once more in woven hopes and determined dreams, recognizing the night enfolds its magic and rest in shadows and stardust. Pale moonlight filters comfortingly, a nocturnal guardian bearing universal benevolence, sowing cozy cool space between wakefulness and dreams. Sleep approaches, slow, deliberate, graceful, and acknowledges your whispered thank yous. Unformed words, promising tomorrow's stories, will emerge as night unrolls its soft, endless comforter across center stage. You breathe deeply, tucked into familiarity, witnessing history by moonlight's woven showers, astride ancient dreams, softened upon a tapestry, melded by time's gentle, eternal embrace. The morning greets you with the delicate symphony of birdsong, a natural alarm clock that you can't snooze, literally and figuratively having no alternative. You stretch, feeling the yielding crunch of your straw mattress beneath the coarse blanket as the world slowly comes into focus. You're met by a chilly breeze slipping through the cracks of your wooden abode, playfully reminding you that fireplaces are more than just medieval Instagram backdrops. They're daily necessities. Outfit picking today involves less sustainable fashion choice and more which cloak has fewer holes and doesn't smell like last week's stew. The medieval wardrobe isn't overflowing with options, but there's a charm in simplicity, like having a single favorite playlist that always hits the right note. But seriously, imagine explaining the concept of capsule wardrobe advocates to a bustling village square in the 14th century. Cue quizzical looks, and perhaps a confused knight pondering whether scarves count as weapons or fashion investments. Your morning routine begins with a hearty meal because, spoiler alert, no oat milk lattes here. Bread, cheese, and maybe some pottage if you're lucky, fortify you against the day's adventures. The taste? Imagine oatmeal that forgot to aspire to greatness. The peculiar flavors dance on your palate in a juggling act, reminiscent of watching a cooking show while eating instant ramen. Satisfying, yet somehow amusing. Around the communal table, lively chatter fills the air. A merry mix of trading plans, exchanging small joys, attire gossip, and the occasional head-scratching recipe trials that could use a medieval version of a food blog. Descriptive embellishments certainly not lacking as is. Imagine the ye-old foodie setting out. The village feels like an enormous, living clock where sundials vaguely track time, and your pace matches the deliberate rhythm of life without HR meeting reminders. Historians note how remarkably collective activities dominated daily routines. Community mattered back then, just as it does now, a fact seen daily as people converge to work the land or barter in the market square, their voices blending into the breeze like sand sketches across history's long beaches. Inhaling the earthy odors and animated breath of the village, each step holds potential for unexpected encounters and stories. With the familiarity of pathways well trodden, you navigate past bustling neighbors, bustling like real-time cultural exchanges. The vibrant energy, palpable in its sincerity, infuses the scene. A world where small keyboard clacks don't accompany profound dialogues. You pass by skilled artisans showcasing their craftsmanship with the kind of devotion that would put any DIY TikTok creator to shame. Long hours spent perfecting tools, weaving baskets, or preparing delicious, rustic-smelling loaves of bread, all entries in the village's unwritten archive. You can't help but marvel at how their hands turn simple materials into significant, necessary art. Here lays the intertwining of labor and leisure, each enterprise seemingly both origin and result of some grand ancient dance performed across the village square. Every tapped nail, every cut piece of wood, every shared song weave together life's enduring allegory. Historians argue over certain trades, debating whether guilds held monopoly grips or fostered a form of medieval community management equivalent to five-star gig reviews. A curious tidbit worth pondering: hats, beyond weather protection, also transmitted social cues, similar to today's obscure designer labels. Heads adorned with feathers or stripes telegraphed messages like an ancient equivalent of scrolling someone's LinkedIn headline. Less digital, charmingly expressive, yet no less detailed in its statement. As twilight steals the day, you draw away from the camaraderie of the market to the solace of your home. Surrounded by familiar scents and memories that linger on linen folds, a warmth finds you enigmatic night by night. The hearth's crackle feels familiar, rhythmic, and forgiving. You know well it's the little things, these comforting echoes of existence, humming subtly in gratitude. Settling in, a sense of peaceful accomplishment clings to the air. Night's tender embrace descending upon you like a velvety eddy, welcoming all hearts home. You cocoon under blankets, drowsily reflecting past events, knowing history's stream always swirls myriad tales, woven with time's devotionary embrace as you drift into dreams, kissed by celestial whispers. The new day arrives lazily, sneaking through wooden shutters with the gentleness of a cat's paw. You rise with the sun, greeted by the symphony of life awakening around you, the world stretching and breathing in unison. Outside, farm animals add their lively morning symphony, reminding you starkly that breakfast doesn't simply appear on command. There will be no delivery app saving the day today. You find the morning dew sparkling like stardust on the path as you make your way to the more bustling parts of the village. Today, it seems, is yet another day of simple, predictable mirth. There is chatter about the latest news. Perhaps someone has seen a comet in the sky, or the blacksmith is crafting strange metal contraptions again, which prompt curious whispers. Historians debate whether these daily conversations were vital for news exchange or merely idle chatter to pass time. The truth is likely a blend of both. Just as meaningful as scrolling through timelines might be today, only instead of memes, you exchange dramatic tales of neighboring villages or the whisper of a new tax decree. Mid-morning finds you helping in the fields, where earthy scents mix with the faintest hint of wildflowers and the kind of tangy sweat earned only through physical labor. It's surprisingly grounding. There's a rhythm to hoeing and planting, a communal harmony as you toil alongside friends, weaving the land's sustenance through laughter and determination, accompanied by the occasional song that would no doubt make Leonardo da Vinci nod in appreciation. The labor is rhythmic, bringing to mind a pattern, an observance as conscious as breath, a reminder of life's heartbeat, insistent and real. Here, it's a song of community endeavors. And as your hands knead the earth, you think of harvest's bounty, and your soul rehearses gratitude long before the first carrots show their tops. Fun fact, dipping into your laborious toils, the medieval plow was a marvelous contraption, advanced enough in certain areas to boast its own style innovations, like painted decorations or carved charms. These farming endeavors were celebrations of life woven into practical and aesthetic appreciation. Imagine an Instagram reel showcasing plows posing under sunsets with thankfully silent folk music overlay. Amid the hustle of shared tasks, the question funnily remains. Historians still argue whether certain plowing techniques actually revolutionized agricultural efficiency or were romantic imaginings caught by the poet's fancy. Regardless, the whistle of wind through crops becomes the only validation you seek, a timeless soundscape bound to your remembered dreamscape. Once the sun hangs higher, you seek shade and fellowship in a nearby barn. Here, the air is thick with the sweet, musty aroma of dried hay, mingling with laughter pressed into heartbeats. You settle with a rough wooden cup, cool and refreshing pressed cider, and find it delicious, even if the blend tastes like destiny, unraveled in tipsy confessions around future hearths. Back then, cider might have been a family's pride, or the village's go-to antidote for poor moods and too much pretension acquired during feasts typical of knights. It bore the rustic promise, calmed fears usually haunting the chill winter nights. Who needs a therapist when generations of fermented wisdom gives warmth in a cup? You rest easy while the sun droops towards twilight, finding the fatigue in your muscles a welcome exchange. There's reassurance in this familiar fatigue, work that rooted you in the simplicity of being and in the idea that things grow, all while cradled in an ancient loop of growth, labor, and brightening spirits. Dinner calls with rhythmic certainty, promising conversations studded by ember sparks, queerly meandered through the roads of questions and dreams. Words harmonize softly up into familiar rafters, reminding you that even in an ordinary life, there dwells extraordinary sentiment. Heartbeats bridging through the stories, spun intimately and slowly into the tapestry of every thoughtful soul. The day folds into night seamlessly, as inevitable as tides advance, enclosing you in ancient lullabies sung by the night's crib, in moments pulled by age-old silver moons, rising and softly dimming. Tales embroidered by tales gently unspun into velvet repose, settling into whispers, kindly given to sleep. The cycle of medieval life continues, as predictably as the morning creeping across your window, replacing shadows with light. You stretch and find the familiar touch of the worn blanket beneath your fingers. the village begins to stir, slowly at first, like the steady hum of a fridge in a quiet kitchen back home. Only this fridge keeps things warm with the rising sun instead of cool. You step outside into a world already bustling with the rhythms of people and animals greeting another day. There's a gentle chaos to it all that fills your senses. The sounds of carts rolling over cobblestones, hens clucking in protest at being disturbed, and children's laughter weaving in and out like birds darting through trees. It all feels strangely comforting, like catching snippets of a favorite song on the radio unexpectedly. Time here isn't measured in apps or hourly milestones, but in the tasks the sun gives you warmth to accomplish. Your mission today involves something that sounds more daring than it is: fetching water from the village well. It's a tumultuous task, far removed from turning a tap. You pick up your wooden bucket, its handle smooth from years of use and countless untold stories. As you make your way to the well, each step is thoughtful, less about chore checking and more about embracing this quiet journey. You imagine each stone underfoot is its own piece of ancient history, connected to a web of others, like a giant historical social network, but without the occasional sting of too many ads. While you're waiting your turn at the well, a neighbor regales you with tales. These aren't just updates, but folklore wrapped in personality and wit, each version tailored by the teller's flair for drama. You won't believe this, but tales of dragons and saints infuse the water with richness that beat today's viral challenges hands down for sheer engagement. Historians ponder whether these community exchanges served as news bulletins or artful distractions from routine. Either way, you savor the verbal tapestry woven with each narrative's stitch, feeling lighter as your bucket fills with the chatter echoing within the stone circle. On your way back, another task awaits: helping with the village bake. Bread in this time isn't just sustenance, it's social currency, a warm handshake exchanged with flour-dusted fingers. It takes a collective effort, each set of hands contributing to kneading, an act of grounding, more connected to the earth than any meditation app could make you feel. Baking here doesn't involve electric ovens or preset temperatures. It's an art, lovingly scrawled with fingerprints into dough and swirled through shared breath and laughter. Each loaf is a chapter in its own right, infused with life and sincerity, an edible story to be told over the next meal. A quirky side note: medieval ovens doubled as clothes dryers during colder months. Picture wooden racks adorned with slightly warmed ashes to speed up this laundry, a bizarrely practical multitasking hack long before washing machines sighed in boredom in antifungal basements. As the day stretches and yawns into afternoon, you notice the sun's rays stretch longer, golden apricots splashed across fields as shadows grow drowsier. The bake is complete, filling air with rich anticipation of shared bites and stories, a gift that each household will deliver with well-timed esteem. Finally, as twilight begins its slow descent, you gather with neighbors around the evening hearth, a place where memories and plans for the future gather, flickering like firelight across expectant faces. The stories shared are the breath of a timeless tradition, words unfurling like hands opening to reclaim the transient night. In this simple setting, time unravels just a little slower, softer, and you find solace tucked beneath worn blankets that embrace you. The night thrums sweetly against the pulse of resting hours, cradling you into dreams that drift on with the steadiness of a slow symphony. You welcome sleep like an old friend, carrying you on silken threads into tomorrow's twilight, where dawn will paint anew like a whispering muse under constellations gazing kindly from above. As the sun peeks over the horizon once more, your eyes flutter open to the gentle illumination that spills onto the wooden floorboards, reminiscent of how your favorite fairy lights draw cozy patterns across your room back in another time. Rising from your slumber, you embrace the immediate tasks with a mix of curiosity and necessity, finding solace in the consistency of the medieval routine. Today offers you a peek into the intricacies of medieval medicine, a place where remedies sport a degree of peculiarity that leaves you questioning their credibility but admiring their creativity. Imagine your neighborhood herbalist, not quite a TikTok health influencer, but more like someone who has seen and brewed it all. Their shelves lined with curious bottles and bundles of dried herbs, not therapeutics, but vibrant whispers of herbal hope. You wander inside the small, comforting space where the air hangs thick with the aroma of crushed lavender and rosemary. Here, natural remedies reign supreme. Every wooden shelf an invitation into folklore's apothecary, a ring of knowledge sustaining centuries by word more than written prescription. You learn the basics, how steeping chamomile creates a calming tea to soothe the evening's fringes, while a garlic poultice might just be a bit too accurate in its pungency, if not a total placebo. It's mentioned that rosemary sharpens the mind, though maybe you'd stick to caffeine and the hope of a good night's sleep. Historians still argue whether specific herbal treatments were genuinely effective or bolstered by hope, faith, or mere placebo. It's hard not to giggle at the thought of medieval villagers frantically Googling how to get rid of a cold fast if given the chance. Here, the trials of concoction are coupled with the learned patience of nature's heartbeats. A quirky side note that'll make you smile. To ward off wounds or infections, some believed in using a hare's foot as a talisman. How does that match with your worry stone from Etsy or your good luck charm? Maybe medieval TikTok would have been ripe with the harefoot challenge. With potions and herbs explored, you step back into the daylight, considering how tasks of healing reinforce a sense of community involvement far more compelling than any group chat seen muted. You carry newfound respect, uncovered in the minutiae of mixing and mending, where best intentions marry silly superstition. The afternoon finds you drawn to gatherings held in the village commons, a place where stories find life and where oral history meets convivial cheer, binding everyone in shared experience. Here, the spoken word transforms into something more, carving its own niche into the tapestry of existing lore. The village storyteller regales all with epic tales, knights and fairies, battles waged fiercely under starry canvases. The listening crowd is enraptured by the rhythmic rise and fall of plots, much as you might watch your favorite series unfold one tragically compelling episode at a time. Historians conjecture if these myths birthed real courage or merely enchanted imaginations worn from toil. Regardless, you find yourself swaying with every protagonist's turn, each narrative arch evoking laughter or gasps in equal measure, knitting heartstrings to shared fates, much like each tantalizing plot twist weaves itself into nightly conversations. As the day winds down and you close up well-loved stories, finely woven with human experience, you step homeward, the laughter still ringing in your ears like a gentle lullaby. The simplicity of the evening calls to you, a well-loved chair, the glow of embers reminiscent of friendships, glowing strong amid the ever-turning stars. Once again, wrapped in your cozy cocoon, the night envelopes you in soft shadowed caress, inviting dreams to alight along weary lids. You surrender to slumber, drifting on vast seas navigated by celestial whims, heartbeat in time with ancient worlds, spinning slowly under night's velvet quilt until dawn's first note heralds new stories to pen. You awaken once more, nestled in the embrace of time-worn blankets, with the soft light of dawn playing gently across your face. This morning, there's a tangible hum of anticipation in the air, as the village prepares for a day unlike the others, a day of celebration. Festivities call out like a fanfare before day begins as the village bursts with life in all directions. Today promises a glimpse of medieval merriment, a fair or festival, the likes of which elevates everyday life beyond the plowing and planting to a place where joy is palpable, worn proudly like the garlands adorning wooden beams. You dress in your best, which means you have the one tunic without patches or curious odors, and join the others as laughter dances from door to door, echoing with the clink of mugs and the blare of hand-carved horns. The heart of the festival pulses in the town square, transformed into a vibrant tapestry of color and clamor. No emails to check, no social media masquerades, just community, where presence is woven wholly into weaving and baking, into music and dance, with stalls overflowing in artful abundance and children weaving round golden wheat stalks. Step by step, you travel through this vivid medieval tapestry, drawn to a display of craftsmanship that makes you swoon. A potter shaping life from the earth, a weaver deftly turning threads into mesmerizing patterns, completing creations as organized as your bookmarked Pinterest DIY projects. Each artisan pours their soul into the work, as tangible as the hum of the market around them. Historians note the possibility that medieval fairs were more than simple gatherings. They acted as interwoven strands of economy and artistry, threads of local and foreign scenes meshed into a momentary symphony. Whether driven by art or necessity, the result is breathtaking. A miniature explosion of human connection in the mundane, something you'd swipe right on without a second thought. And now, to the food. You won't believe this. Medieval vendors have peculiar treats that both delight and bewilder. Roasted meats echo through the senses, spiced past what you thought was possible for a primitive palate, and sweets made from honey tantalize in their thick, golden glisten. Everything smells like the rich fantasy of feasts illustrated in children's books, where pies boast of regional fruits and centuries-old recipes regarding sellers with sly, knowing smiles. A quirky fact flutters past. In some regions, walnuts were once tossed from balconies as festival favors, a gesture as simple as throwing breadcrumbs over ducks. Today, it's tradition. Tomorrow's version of a viral hashtag, maybe, spinning tales upon tales. As the day turns, you find yourself toe-tapping to merry tunes. Jigs fit for the hardiest of dancers, lifted by the lilting notes cradled from lutes and flutes. The music spills over cobblestones, drawing people into circles, faces eager and open, sharing the joy without reservation. It's entertainment that pulses palpably with each spirited beat, reminding you that sometimes pure joy is not streamed but lived. Historians still argue whether such festivals were indeed intermittent escapes or critical times of economic assembly. Regardless of perspective, they beheld magic undeniable, to warm weary bones, uplift the spirit, and bind people brighter than any loom's embroidery. As evening's shadow hangs low and stars peer curiously through patchy cloud fingers. The festival's finale unfolds in a flurry of color. Fireworks arc gracefully across the night sky, a timeless dance of light met by awestruck eyes and cheerful exclamations, a cosmic embroidery to snuggle beneath in remembrance. The day ebbs into a quiet denouement, blending laughter and tiredness into a sweet lullaby of happy exhaustion. In the cozy familiarity of home, nestled with the smell of evening fires and the welcome weight of beautiful memories, you find peace. Night opens its arms wide, like an old friend enveloping you with stories woven into sleep, a gentle companion on the ever-turning page of existence. Dreams lend promise from the stars, and you rest with heart songs threaded into the night, the ancient lullaby continuing its peaceful refrain through worlds unseen, whispering the lull towards daybreak and another tale yet unfurling. With the festival's energy still humming softly in the background of your mind, morning arrives with the gentle insistence of a cat purring at your feet. You rise, blinking sleepily as golden beams trickle through window slats, gently urging you back into the embroidered cloth of medieval life. Each morning feels like stepping into a tapestry with new threads to explore, ready to be woven into the pattern of the day. Today, you're stepping into the fascinating world of justice, the medieval version that's less about gavel banging in orderly courtrooms and more of a lively spectacle where equity can feel whimsically unpredictable. Truth be told, it would make a riveting courtroom drama, with a flair for the theatrical far greater than any docuseries could muster. You walk to the village's main square, where a trial is set to play out under the open sky. The air is fresh with curiosity, a palpable trembling of something momentous and absurd crammed vividly into the field of justice in which logic often felt like the missing ingredient. Villagers gather, cloaks pulled tight against the morning chill, eyes darting with the kind of anticipation usually reserved for big sporting events or celebrity sightings. Historians still debate whether medieval trials were genuinely equitable or more of a public spectacle. The truth, as we suspect, probably lies somewhere in between. Today's proceedings may decide the fate of a disputed pig losing its tether or quarreling neighbors accusing each other of shifty glances and bad harvest luck. The accused faces trial by ordeal, perhaps the medieval equivalent of a reality TV challenge. You might witness the accused being dunked in water, declared innocent if they sink, which, ironically, poses other life-threatening challenges. It's a system rooted more in faith than fairness, where survival was wrongly deemed divine intervention. You won't believe this, but some disputes have been resolved by combat. Two villagers donning armor and bashing at each other's shields to the amusement or horror of onlookers. Imagine a TikTok challenge with fewer dance moves and higher stakes. A quirky historical tidbit can't be missed. Sometimes, animals were put on trial, like daring swine caught raiding a neighbor's vegetable patch. Picture a hog trotted into makeshift court, its future decided by humans who clearly had questionable methods of enforcing the law. And you thought your local parking disputes were bizarre. As the trial unfolds, you're struck by the richness of communal life found in these gatherings, not in achieving justice, but in participating. Villagers might not have grasped subpoenas or appeals, but the importance of witness and solidarity was palpable. It's a shared story, felt collectively, much like when an unexpected meme captures the world's attention. The sun climbs slowly as the trial reaches its conclusion. Decisions, odd as they seem today, make peace in this tightly knit community. a resolution marked by the dispersing crowd murmuring in satisfaction, ready to breathe regularity back into their daily grind. A delicious aroma beckons. A vendor selling fresh oatcakes, a perfect celebratory snack after the emotional roller coaster of the morning. They're a simple pleasure, almost perfumed with the nutty fragrance of roasted grains swirled through sticky sweetness. Who needs artisanal pastries or virtual cafe tours when oatcakes and friendship abound? As you make your way home, you ponder the curious rituals and laws that somehow governed life with, if not fairness, a sense that stories shared are lives entwined. A mural painted against the backdrop of the extraordinary ordinary, with the evening drawing its soft curtain across the village, you find comfort, once again, in known rituals. Sharing warmth by the hearth, tales spun in soft whispers, and the sweet promise of dreams. Tonight, wrapped in layers, spun from the day's textured adventure, you let sleep gather you with its lulling wash, a soothing balm under the quilted night. As stars blink lazily into view, you drift into slumber, heart aloft on waves of history's song, cradled gently in a loving universe, awaiting tomorrow's journeys woven into time's eternal tapestry. As you awaken to another day, gently unfurling beneath soft dawn light, there's a sense of anticipation buzzing in the air. Today, the focus shifts to art and entertainment, its medieval forms brimming with charms distinct and whimsical, in a time when creativity was as much survival as expression. It's a world where art exudes vitality, unfettered by technology's precise brushstrokes, yet saturated in hues of infinite imagination. The village brims with a mosaic of creativity, each nook offering a different medium to explore. You wander into a courtyard filled with vibrant tapestries that catch the morning light, their woven tales springing to life with every breeze that teases their threads. Imagine Netflix with the budget of a bumpy donkey ride, where storytelling relies on the vividness of color and the skill of the weaver's hand. Artists here carve, sculpt, and paint, breathing life into stone and wood. One humble craftsman chisels a block of marble, revealing forms both divine and earthy. It's impossible not to admire the arduous patience, honing shadows and expressions inch by inch, a transformation snatched from time's patient grasp. Historians argue whether art served merely as transaction tokens or expressions of personal revelation. Was it merely for decor or transcendent? Were pieces symbolic, storytellers aside church halls or indoors? Whatever side of history's debate you fall on, there's indomitable affection woven into each creation, a quiet plea for connection across time. You stroll into the marketplace, passing minstrels tuning their instruments, their strings vibrating with the promise of song to soothe weary souls. Their melodies play like whispers caught on the wind, transcending medieval boundaries, much like the shuffle of your everyday playlist today. The music journeys through themes of love, loss, and legend, medleys capturing something universally human. A quick aside, juggling, a popular medieval form of entertainment, once occupied a space between awe and mystery. Skilled jugglers made objects dance in defiance of gravity, akin to today's fascination with close-up magic, leaving theater audiences with wide-eyed disbelief. It's less about applause and more an art form that acknowledges life's precarious balancing act. A curious plot unfolds as a traveling theater group arrives, enthralling villagers who gather with excited anticipation. These troupes perform plays with lively gestures and robust humor, where the lines blur between actor and audience in delightful chaos. Their exhibitions, not constrained by stage or screen, move seamlessly into gathered, eager hearts, meanwhile birthing legends along every village stop. As you watch a comical reenactment of a foolish knight's adventure, you're reminded of modern sitcoms, episodes steeped in folly and relatable emotion, where laughter and simple delight shatter life's somber clutches, briefly freeing time-bound spirits. Here, entertainment stitches communities, bonds built with episodes recited over and over. Historians still speculate whether these traveling troupes inspired broader intellectual discussions or simply served as comedic relief. If anything is certain, it is that their dramatizations held power within laughter and complexity, weaving narrative threads that lent identity to shared experience. With shadows lengthening and the marketplace drawing her vibrant skirts closed around leisurely stalls, you make your way home, your heart light with the songs, stories, and spirited energy that the day laid bare. Art, in its many shapes and forms, invites discovery. Visions round tender edges of daily life, imbued with humanity's quest for understanding, etched onto every surface. As night embraces the village, you find comfort in the simplicity of endings. Narratives gently spun into your dreams, and consciousness filled with the textures of friendship, the hum of strings and dancing shadows flitting across familiar dreams. You curl up beneath the blankets, threads long woven by unseen hands, thanked by tonight's warmth and spirits held tight within sleep. The moon watches with its eternal eye, and you sail sweetly into slumber once more, dreams buoyed aloft by art's soft hands, cradling humanity's ceaseless momentum into tomorrow's promise, yet engaging in stories that will paint heartbeats tenfold, layered with endless echoing love. The morning light peeks through, painting your room with a gentle golden hue as you stir from slumber. Today holds the promise of exploration as you decide to step beyond the village borders and embrace the untamed world beyond. A journey through realms where travel was less about convenience and more about the stories that unfolded along the way. Setting off with a simple pack slung over your shoulder, you imagine what it must have been like to traverse these winding paths without the aid of GPS or travel blogs. Your map is more of a mental tapestry, sewn together from the tales of travelers who've come before, perhaps adorned with a few cryptic markings and etchings that would mystify a modern traveler. Historians still argue whether ancient maps were partial storytellers or sincere attempts at geographic accuracy. Maybe they were both, a tapestry of fact and legend, spun from memory and imagination. The road is rugged yet welcoming, lined with trees that embrace you like sentinels guiding the way. Each step brings new sounds, the crunch of leaves underfoot, bird calls harmonizing with the gentle whisper of the wind. You find yourself more in tune with nature's rhythm, a melody that reminds you of those times you caught yourself listening to the rustling leaves more than your playlist. You pass by a wayfarer, clad in travel-worn garments and cheerful optimism. They share stories of distant lands, wild adventures, and encounters with peculiar characters. Enchanting tales embroidered with richer colors than any suitcase could carry. You can't help but wonder if medieval wanderers experienced difficulties akin to airplane delays or misplaced luggage. A stranded caravan, perhaps, or a horse that preferred grazing over galloping. For sustenance, you'd plan the medieval version of stopping at a roadside diner, an inn that promises rest and hearty fare. The innkeeper, bustling about with the cheerful efficiency of a cafe barista, offers you bread and ale, flavors that embrace you like an old friend, fruit of the earth kneaded and brewed with care. You savor each bite while eavesdropping on boisterous conversations, snippets of life lived in broad strokes, and laughter shared without restraint. A quick historical tidbit: medieval inns sometimes doubled as local hubs for news exchange, where travelers traded stories like medieval podcasts, entertaining and informative, each tale a glimpse into lives out of reach. Imagine if those tales had Yelp stars. Oh, the ratings they would receive. Continuing on your path, the sky that stretched endlessly above you shifts from blue to twilight. Lanterns are lit, weaving a soft glow along the path, echoing the starlight that begins to twinkle above. As night falls, you seek shelter in a cozy inn nestled among the hills. The inn's walls are filled with warmth, laughter, and the fragrant promise of roasted meats and honeyed cakes. It's a merry place where people from distant lands converge, sharing tales of grandeur and folly alike by the hearth, flames flickering like ancient guardians weaving tales in dance. Sometimes, sharing a smile over a simple jest feels as timeless as the stars wavering across the ancient firmament. Drifting off beneath the inn's heavy blankets, you reflect on the journey. A journey not defined by the destination, but the wondrous chapters unfolding with every step. You close your eyes to the lullaby of quiet conversations and crackling firewood, preparing to dream of ancient paths carved through time's soft earth. The night carries you gently into its embrace as you sail toward dawn on the currents of slumber. You ride dreams crafted by wanderings to cozy lands, shrouded in sleep's gentle fog. A place where travel ends, begins anew in stories never fading, written in the starry ink of the infinite sky above. The dawn greets you with a soft embrace as you awaken in the inn, the world outside still wrapped in the night's lingering whispers. The smell of fresh bread wafts through the air, calling you to breakfast with an insistence akin to those apps that nudge you for a morning meditation. You rise, stretching the travel stiffness from your limbs, and head down to the inn's bustling common room, where the morning hums with quiet anticipation. The travelers you encountered last night are partaking in the morning fare. Porridge dotted with honey and ripe berries, steaming mugs of ale warmed for the chill, and the ever-present chatter weaving stories as vivid as the food itself. You find yourself nestled in a corner, enjoying the communal energy that fills the room like sunlight peeking through a cloud. Today, the lure of discovery pulls at your heartstrings as you embark on a spiritual journey, to explore the sacred spaces that anchor the village to its sense of wonder. As you step outside, the early morning mist clings gently to the ground like a spectral companion as you make your way to the village's age-old chapel. A stone sentinel watching over the town like a wise old guardian. Historians still ponder whether these spiritual places served only religious purposes, or if they also functioned as centers of community life. In truth, they were probably both, a tether and a release, the pulsating heart of this medieval tapestry. Approaching, you hear the faint lull of chants seeping through the chapel's ancient walls. The melody, mysterious and serene, washes over you like a nocturne, inviting moments of reflection. You step into the cool shadow of the chapel and are greeted by the hush of candlelight flickering off stone, illuminating the delicate beauty of stained glass windows. Here, the air is perfumed with incense, and the lingering hum of divine melodies fills space with a promise of peace. A mass is underway, voices unified in song and spirit, rising to meet the vaulted ceilings like a living echo. You join the congregation, a community of souls seeking solace and answers nestled in faith's gentle embrace. A quick note worth pondering. Medieval cathedrals often doubled as community forums, hosting gatherings and discussions as lively as any group chat today, minus the emojis, but equally expressive in gestures and tone. You find solace in the silence following the service, as choruses fade to whispers and light dapples a mosaic of promise across the cold stone floors. It's a pause button on the chaos of life, offering serenity in the simplicity of being present. This space is less about understanding and more about feeling. The warmth of connected hearts, even in contemplation's quietest corners. Venturing outside once more, you're enveloped in the world's gentle dialogue, the village chattering with life. You wander to the sacred grove beyond the village, a circle of towering ancient trees whose branches sway like old friends, whispering secrets only they can understand. It's a place where legends take shelter, stories bouncing through leaves carried by the breeze. Here, nature's cathedral stretches across blue sky, the soft rustling of leaves a hymn, and the sun-dappled path a tangible tapestry. You find a rock upon which to perch, taking in the peace of the grove, where each sigh of wind into branches seems to say all that words should. As the day unfolds, you return to the village with renewed spirit, footsteps light as dusk draws its gentle curtain over the land. The chapel bells toll, a clarion calling you home, reverberating across valley and hearth alike, a reminder of days gone and days to come. Nestling into the warmth of the hearth at the inn once more, you let the day's beauty weave through your thoughts, shimmering like the starlit night descending softly. You drift into dreams caressed by gentle winds of time, knowing your tomorrow, your next story, awaits. Promising tales as yet unwritten, guided patiently into being by stars' gentle hands. Another dawn unfurls gently across the sky, its soft light nudging you awake in the comfort of the familiar inn. You stretch languidly, the warmth of your blanket reminiscent of curling up with your favorite fuzzy socks on an autumn day. Today's air is imbued with a particular calm, a quiet promise of reflection as you prepare to bid farewell to this embrace of medieval life. With your belongings gathered, you head downstairs for one last breakfast amidst the lively hum of travelers sharing final tales over their meals. This time, it's porridge, with the earthy sweetness of stewed apples, a dish that feels a bit like a warm hug on a chilly morning. The camaraderie, punctuated by laughter and the occasional clinking of mugs, fills the room with a sense of bittersweet joy. These moments are the gift of shared pathways, where every lingering word is wrapped in the warmth of newly threaded friendships. Stepping outside, you feel the gravel crunch beneath your boots on the well-trodden path leading through the village, a thread in the vast tapestry of this place. You meander its winding lanes, savoring the last impressions of familiar faces at their daily tasks. Be it the baker cheerfully dusting morning flower clouds, or children chasing dreams shaped like bubbles on the breeze. Historians argue whether farewells in this era carried the same weight or lasted as momentously as they can now. But here, you feel the gravity of time's cyclical dance, a brief pause on life's journey as you prepare for its next chapter. You realize that this medieval experience is etched into your memory, like ink on parchment, an impression that will linger long after the last tale is told. You find a quiet spot atop the village hill, a place where the view of the rolling countryside is an unfurled map of possibility. Here, you reflect on your sojourn, the rhythmic life and laughter, the connections formed and stories shared. Perhaps there's something universal woven through these threads of time, a longing for connection and understanding that has always spun through the heavens, binding past and present in a gentle embrace. Before the moment slips away, you offer gratitude to the land, to the people who welcomed you, and to the skies that cast gentle light upon your journey. There's a poetic symmetry in the cyclical nature of this medieval world, much like the day's shifting brightness, a dance of creation and rest, woven into the soul's enduring canvas. As the evening approaches, you make your way down the hill for one final sunset, painting the sky in warm hues akin to an artist's vibrant palette. It's a breathtaking reminder that no farewell is absolute. The stories live on, echoing across the heavens and heart alike. Returning to your cozy sanctuary at the inn for the last time, you find comfort in the warmth of the hearth, still singing its timeless lullaby. Wrapped in the softness of your blanket, you let your eyes close, surrendering to sleep's gentle descent. Night cocoons you with its darkened edges, stars whispering their eternal promises above, a quiet testament to the stories that await, to memories woven into dreaming spools. As you drift, the soothing voice of the past cradles your heart, eliciting visions of wonder awaiting in tomorrow's embrace. And thus, beneath the watchful gaze of a shimmering night sky, your journey fades softly like a lullaby, until only the delicate hum of a universe filled with stories guides you into the welcoming arms of peace. The morning sun rises again in its usual gentle manner, painting your room with strokes of soft golden light. You wake for the last time in this cozy medieval nook, feeling the hum of the inn starting its day, the sounds of morning routines filling the corridors with a comfortable buzz. The air is laced with farewells, carrying hints of cherished stories from the life you've intertwined with here. You gather your belongings, each item now imbued with fresh memories. As you descend the stairs, the familiar sounds of the bustling common room become a comforting melody, a symphony of people exchanging farewells, their voices carrying the warmth of connections made amidst the crackling fire. Breakfast awaits, simple and hearty as ever. There's bread, crusty yet welcoming, and cheese perfected by age and patience. You join the table, sharing one final meal with familiar faces, each bite seasoned with the sweetness of a shared journey. Laughter mingling softly above the morning light, bouncing off mugs and plates. As you step outside, the village greets you like an old friend, holding its breath in the soft morning light. You feel the weight of history here, the grounded energy of people whose footsteps have left timeless echoes on these cobblestone paths. It's here, on this cobbled stroll, that you find the gentle rhythm of farewells. Faces you've come to know nod and wave, their eyes holding the kindness of shared story chapters, each gesture a wordless promise to remember. Historians still ponder how such farewells shaped those of medieval times. Perhaps they were as bittersweet as they are today, a blend of hope for new beginnings and the sadness of closing a cherished book. You make your way one final time up the hill overlooking the village, its panoramic view like a painter's masterpiece come to life. Here, with the horizon stretching before you, there's an odd comfort in knowing that this place will continue to pulse with life after your departure. It's a reassuring thought, like putting down a beloved novel, knowing the story continues beyond the pages. The sun is a little higher now, warming your face as you reflect on your journey through this medieval dreamscape. The laughter, the awe, even the challenges, they've all become woven into your own personal tapestry, their threads intermingling with your present, infusing it with new colors and textures. As you leave the village, guided by the path that leads beyond, there's a tranquil certainty in the rhythm of your steps, each one resonating with stories from the past and the promise of tales yet to be written. The world feels vast and inviting, stretching out like the evolving narrative of your own journey, one that merges the past with the essence of your own lived experience. When the village is just a memory on the horizon, you pause and turn back for one last look. The sight feels like closing the cover on a book filled with beloved memories, sure to be revisited often in the quiet corners of your mind. You continue onwards, heart lightened by the journey, your spirit buoyed by the joy, resilience, and magic you've discovered. Nightfall will usher in new dreams, spun like golden thread from the stars to greet you as you finally rest. Travel onwards then, guided by starlight whispers, knowing that each step is history in the making. A living story as endless as the sky itself, where every soul you met and every experience lived transforms into the cherished constellations of your own narrative.